Let's check out the Biltmore Estate.
Location, Asheville, North Carolina.
Rhodes Scholars Assignment. Biltmore House History.
Teachers, Mom and Dad.
Students, Annabelle, Wyatt, and Emma.
How did a home built for one family's vacation retreat become the most visited home in America? How did a family dairy become a world-class winery? And how can a home built for the pleasure pursuits of the rich be a fabulous learning environment about turn-of-the-century farming for scores of children? Let's take a look at the life and history of this one home that does it all.
Europe boasts of many castles and manor houses, from Russia to Romania, from Italy to England, with their medieval fairy tale kingdoms and sprawling Victorian estates. However, North America and the relatively young United States claim only one home of comparable glamour, the Biltmore House.
Located near Asheville, North Carolina, in America's southeastern portion of the Appalachian Mountains, the Biltmore House was built by George Vanderbilt, the youngest grandson of the Industrial Revolution's shipping magnate Cornelius Commodore Vanderbilt.
Starting with just one ferry around New York City's bustling ports, the Commodore rose from his family's small home on Staten Island to becoming America's richest man. At age 16, he began the Staten Island ferry service with a borrowed $100. By the time of his death in 1877, he had expanded into railroads and all forms of shipping. He left the bulk of his $105 million fortune to his oldest son, William Henry Vanderbilt, who doubled his inheritance to $210 million, equal to $3 billion in today's currency, in 8 years, and was named the richest man in the world at his death in 1883. William Henry Vanderbilt divided his estate among his 8 children. George Vanderbilt, his youngest, received much less than his older 2 brothers. It's hard to imagine if he would have built more of a house if he had inherited more money. As it is, his home totals 135,000 square feet and 250 rooms, with an indoor swimming pool, workout room, bowling alley, conservatory, dairy, and farm.
When George Vanderbilt first envisioned his Biltmore estate, it had a twofold purpose: a relaxing vacation home for his friends and family, and a productive agricultural investment. For the home, he engaged New York's prominent architect, Richard Morris Hunt, designer of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Modeled after the style of French chateau, the 250-room house took over 6 years to complete. Beginning construction in 1889, local materials were used whenever possible, but some items, such as limestone and granite, were brought by train to Asheville and then trekked by cart and horse to the building site. With the help of local artisans and craftsmen, George oversaw every aspect of the home's construction.
For the gardens and estate, George Vanderbilt hired Frederick Law Olmsted, renowned designer of New York City's Central Park. The original acreage of the estate was over 125,000. Olmsted cultivated approximately 8,000 acres surrounding the home. The entrance to the home is called the Approach Road, with its many indigenous trees and shrubs, along with rare species of plants that don't belong in the area, yet look at home. Olmsted designed this 3-mile drive to delight visitors arriving leisurely by horse and carriage, and George's first guests were mesmerized when he opened the home Christmas Eve, 1895. After the completion of the home, Mr. Gifford Pinchot and Dr. Carl A. Schneck, the fathers of modern forestry, were hired to cultivate a spectacular forest surrounding the estate.
George met and married his wife Edith while on a trip to Europe in 1898. She boarded the ship a bride on her honeymoon, soon to be carried over the largest threshold in the United States. Sharing George's love of beauty and books, Edith felt at home immediately at the opulent estate. However, she did not enjoy solitude as much as her husband, and immediately started hosting hunting parties and week-long balls for family and friends. She also quickly learned to drive and preferred to chauffeur herself around the grounds. Her 1913 Stevens Duria Model C6 is currently on display at the winery.
With the birth of their only child, Cornelia, in 1900, the Biltmore became a real home, and the Vanderbilts hosted many kids' parties in addition to their month-long hunting gatherings. George and Edith also spent more time on the estate and enjoyed creating a self-sustaining farm. George enjoyed his farming and forestry pursuits until his sudden death following an appendectomy in 1914. Edith and Cornelia continued to run the farm and estate after his death, but the home did not see another grand celebration until Cornelia's wedding to John Cecil on April 29, 1924.
So how did this exclusive family home transform into a worldwide tourist destination? The same thing that changed many rich and poor families around the world. The Great Depression. Hit hard with taxes and the expense of the upkeep of the mansion, Cornelia and her husband, John Cecil, working with the city of Asheville, opened the home to tourists in 1930 to spur tourism and create revenue for preserving the estate.
Today, the home remains in the Vanderbilt family under the Biltmore Company, headed by George Vanderbilt's great-grandson, Bill Cecil. The family's tireless preservation of the home and estate make it the most popular destination in western North Carolina and a wonderful living museum for visitors who total over 1 million a year. However, with special events like candlelight tours at Christmas or Spring in the Gardens, the Biltmore is more than just a history lesson. Rhodes Scholar assignment, Biltmore activities. Of course, the first activity is to tour the house itself, which takes several hours. Make sure you visit each room and enjoy all its splendor.
When you've seen how the wealthy lived 100 years ago, head outside and tour the grounds and the gardens.
When you finish with the gardens, head over to Antler Hill Village and explore all the hands-on activities.
A guided tour of the old dairy and the current winery is included in your ticket.
Here, you get to see how they take grapes and make them into juice for adults and children.
Adults may sample the wine, while the kids have grape juice.
Antler Hill Farm also offers demonstration and hands-on activities.
See all the tools used to run a farm 100 years ago. And even play with some.
Farm workers also demonstrate handicrafts essential to the farm life, like woodworking. Bee tending and blacksmithing.
Kids could also try out some old-fashioned games. or some newfangled gadgets.
Final assignment, Biltmore Math.
Biltmore is fabulous. Make sure you allow at least 8 hours for seeing the complete estate, or better yet, visit 2 consecutive days for only $10 more.
When we returned the next day, we turned our flashers on, bypassing the parking lots, and headed straight for the conservatory. That way, we could park close to the garden since we brought our dog, Ginger, along.
Dogs are allowed all over the estate, except inside buildings.
Whether perusing the lavish lifestyle of the Vanderbilt's home, or sauntering through the seasonal gardens, or stepping back in time to see the turn-of-the-century farm, a visit to the Biltmore House never disappoints.